Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ha'arakah, Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. It's Pai Allah, the GMS London camp, with news and prophecy, prophecy and news. Hey, this one's a follow-up to the one I did yesterday, and it comes in the same form of spirit, okay? Because I mentioned this in the previous video, that basically, ultimately it's going to be a time like never before. And I told one like a fusion of just everything that could go wrong, going wrong all at once, basically. And as I said, they had terrorism in a layaway. They had it in a tuck, basically. Had it hidden under their sleeve, and now you see that this is where we're at, man. Now enter terrorism, all right? And let's not forget, this is that Hegelian diet, basically pressure from above, pressure from below, all right? Just putting it on you from every angle possible. And that's why you have these things happening, because really the month of October, November was meant to be when the vaccine comes out, but now we got terrorism out here as well, all right? And we still have, dealing with the UK, we still have Brexit in the background. And then over across the pond in Babylon the Great, which is known as America, which the name America goes back to the Hebrew, basically meaning bitter, okay? So, because that was basically made for the sole purpose of the tribes going into slavery. But the main reason I mention that is because now you have the elections going on right now, where Biden and Trump are duking it out basically to establish whoever's going to become president. And with that being said, there's militia saying that fighting is going to break out, all these type of things. But I digress. All right, so I got this article from BBC, and I'm going to read it and go through and pick out the main points. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll just pick out a few. I'll read a bit of it, pick out the points, and Lord willing, you be edified. So let me play this.
This afternoon, JTAC has changed the threat level across the United Kingdom from terrorism from substantial to severe. The British public should be alert but not alarmed. This is a precautionary measure following the terrible incidences that we've seen in France last week and the events that we saw in Austria last night. The first and most important duty of the government is obviously to protect the British public, and we are doing that and will continue to do that through the measures and the tools that we've put in place in terms of dealing with terrorism and terrorist activity. At this particular stage, though, if the public have any concerns, I would ask them to report anything of concern that they may have to the police. But as I've said, this is a precautionary measure in light of recent events that we have seen.
And what can you tell us about the work that is going on to counter the threat level, which is now, as you say, elevated to severe?
Well, first of all, JTAC is an independent body, and they have made the judgment in light of recent events, as we've seen in France and also in Austria, that this alert should go up. In terms of countering activity, of course, we work with our outstanding intelligence and police forces.
That's enough on that. Okay, so title reads, UK terrorism threat level raised to severe. The UK's terrorism threat level has been upgraded from substantial to severe. The move means security chiefs believe that an attack is highly likely, but there is no specific intelligence of an imminent incident. All right. So, as I mentioned before in the previous video, if you have an attentive eye, then you know what's going on. And even more so is required now, all right? Because let's not forget, with the synagogue, I didn't mention this, there was mention of it being at a synagogue, and I believe the guy was dressed up like a so-called Jew. So, they're gonna utilize race in this whole agenda, okay? to basically garner the outcome they want to garner. And the main race they're going to go for is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's why they've been doing it with the vaccines and whatnot. But this whole terrorism kind of gig basically allows it to be further established. It puts more eyes on you, basically. Says the move means security chiefs believe an attack is... I read that. So it says the move follows Monday night shooting in Vienna, in which 4 people died. Last week, 3 others died in a knife attack in Nice, France. And a teacher was murdered in Paris last month. And they actually said he was beheaded, right? So that shows you what's going on. Home Secretary Priti Patel said the British people should be alert and not alarmed. This is a precautionary measure following the horrific events of the last week in France and last night in Austria. Is not based on a specific threat, right? And mind you, I did actually mention that they said they had, terrorists were so scared of coronavirus that they said they ain't gonna do no terrorist attacks, right? But now it seems they're not that scared no more, okay? When Bill Gates was saying that if you don't believe it's real, then alongside Melinda saying that we got something for you, all right? So anyway, reading on it says she added that significant steps had already been taken to amend powers and strengthen the tools for dealing with the developing terrorist threats. And when that's said, something like that, the amendment of powers and the strengthening of tools for dealing with developing terrorist threats, that basically means an infringement on your rights, all right? And what are these said things that they're actually doing, okay? Because really they're going to line up with coronavirus, track and trace, all these different things. It's gonna all form into one ubiquitous system whereby it covers all angles basically. Anyway, reading on, it says as I've said before, we face a real and serious threat in the UK for terrorism. I would ask the public to remain vigilant and to report any suspicious activity to the police, she said. So even now, the fact that, the public are vigilant and suspicious, all right, of activity, basically that's setting up an environment where it's already been established as well, where basically everyone's watching each other, all right? And I believe that movie, Dinner with Andre, goes into that, where the city's the new prison industrial complex, where basically the prisoners are the guards and the guards are the prisoners, all right? So it says assessments of threat levels are taken by the Joint Terrorism Analysis Center, JTAC, which mentioned, part of MI5, which makes its recommendations independently from the government. All right. So here's the 5 levels. So the 5 levels of threat set by the JTAC are low, an attack is highly unlikely; moderate, an attack is possible but not likely; substantial, an attack is likely; severe, an attack is highly likely; and critical, an attack is highly likely in the near future. So yeah, that's what you have there. So let me just see this little sub. Alright, he basically, to sum it up, he's just saying the reason why they've done it, from what I gather, is because they've built up some momentum, so they feel like they can go forward and do a terrorist attack. So it says, head of UK counter-terrorism, Policing Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu echoed the Home Secretary's comments, saying there was no intelligence to link any of the attacks in France or Austria to the UK, but said this officer said his officers were working with international partners and providing assistance. He urged communities to stand together and reject those who seek to sow division and hatred between us. Okay? Sorry. So, for the most part, yeah. So I'm gonna read this little segment here, and then I'm gonna bring out a scripture, and yeah. So this is a sense of inevitability. The decision to raise the threat level back to severe has a certain sense of inevitability about it. While the threat level may feel vague to the public, what lies behind it is an assessment of available intelligence of known suspects targeting the UK and a wider analysis of how international events will play into their intentions. Alright, and you always find that with these terrorist attacks, which serves as which basically is beneficial for the government, the fact that they say they already know the people, they know the targets, and the next thing it would make you say is, well, if they know they're the targets, why don't they lock them up before they do the crime? I said, well, that's not how the law works. But then basically what you're setting up is the case of pre-crime charges and the Minority Report kind of concept, where you have the capacity to commit a certain type of crime. So guess what? We're going to arrest you and X, Y, and do what we need to do with you. And that's even why you have the lists, the different colored lists for different people that they deem acceptable in the new world order, the new normal, and the people they deem that are not able to live in that new normal to their certain quota, basically. Right? So whenever there is an attack that leads to loss of life, there are plotters who will regard that as a success to emulate. Right? They will be encouraged to go further themselves. As why a string of events elsewhere, such as France and Austria, at the moment carry weight in the UK's planning for preparedness. Right? And let's not forget that these things, they can be orchestrated for that sake, right? But that's it on the article. The main point really is that the threat level in the UK has been increased back to severe, which is basically there's a likely chance of a terrorist attack. So that lets you know where we're at, man. Alright. So terrorism is rearing its ugly head once again, or so-called terrorism. So that lets you know that alongside with COVID-19, the vaccines, the economic crisis, we're on that road, okay, to the time of Jacob's trouble. So this is Revelations 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you. Who's that speaking about? Esau, Edom, alright? Starting with the so-called white men, starting with the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family, the DuPonts, the Gates, etc., etc. They are the devil, okay? The Bible speaks of great deceivers. And that's why when you check out these articles, the way they're worded is as in they hold it to, they're going to benefit you in some sense of the way, but it's not at all. It's not for your benefit in the slightest, okay? All it's going to do is bring about the time, well, it's beneficial because it's going to bring the time of the end, but if you adhere to their words, that's going to bring onto you destruction. So it says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, right? So he's coming with great wrath, right? Because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And he knows the time is against him, man. Alright? Time isn't on his side, as it tells you, man. That if there, the Lord said that if there wasn't if he didn't cut off if he didn't shorten the days, that basically there'll be no flesh left to save, right? So that's why, you know, the Lord said he comes quickly, man. Right? So I'm gonna finish on this. So this is 2 Peter 3:11. It reads, actually, read these. So Peter 3:10-12. It says, "But there the Lord will come as a thief in the night." All right. So even though this man, all right, he has his plan to basically establish his new world order, and he's speedily working towards it. It's saying that the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night. So no matter how fast you move, a thief, even if he takes his time slowly getting into your place, he's coming as a thief. You ain't gonna see him coming, all right? So it says, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. So right when it seems like everything's all good and dandy, that's when the missiles start getting to fly and World War III escalate, all right? Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be? All right, so seeing that this is what's going to happen, what kind of person we meant to be? So it says, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversations and godliness? So we're basically meant to be dwelling upon his word, all right? Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Lord, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. All right, so with that, I pray you're edified. Say shalom. Till the next one.